What's up guys, I'm Turtles here back at again with another reaction style video. Today we're doing a viewer request and it is 5 ways the Jedi betrayed Anakin and justified his actions. This one's done by Generation Tech, 854,000 views. I'm interested to see what they kind of got to say. I feel like it's pretty clear how things went, but maybe they'll throw in some details and stuff that I haven't heard or refresh my memory on some things.
Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Pants. Where we're going, we pants. Or lights. Anakin's fall from the light during episode 3 happened so abruptly. 1 second he's snitching on Palpatine to the Jedi Council, and then a second later he's cut Mace Windu's hand off and murdered a bunch of children. His motivation was to save his wife, who he had seen die in some kind of Force vision. But still, the change in behavior seems very extreme, unless you really intimately know Anakin's relationship with the Jedi Order. Although Anakin tried his best to fit in, the Jedi Order did a lot of terrible things directly to him that I believe ultimately justified his actions.
To be fair though, there was a lot of time
The Jedi Order has a
in between a lot of those events that the Clone Wars goes over and explains in detail a little bit better, and you can kind of see his downfall, and it's not so abrupt as it is in the prequel movies.
Now, most of the members of the Jedi Order are kind-hearted and truly want to.
But the Jedi Order did kind of stiff him a little bit.
But like any organization that's scaled up to a certain size, they have to become more practical when it comes to decision-making. And so when Qui Gon Jin spots Anakin Skywalker on Tatooine and finds out that he has a ridiculous amount of midichlorians in his bloodstream, the first course of action for Qui Gon is to figure out how to free the boy from slavery and then recruit him into the Order. Now we know from his undercover work that Qui Gon Jin really hated slavery and human trafficking, but he didn't free Anakin out of the
Interesting. I think that's
he
from Taken.
wanted the young boy because of the role he would play in the Chosen One prophecy. If Qui Gon Jin had actually cared about the boy, would have saved his mother, Shmi Skywalker, from slavery as well. But Qui Gon Jinn decides to leave her behind. The Jedi Order at the time was all about removing attachments from its members. That's why they recruited only newborns and infants that had not become attached or remembered their parents. Anakin, who was 9, was a lot older than your average Jedi and had grown quite attached to his mother, who was raising him all by herself. Now, Qui Gon Jinn was considered an unorthodox Jedi who oftentimes went against the grain. Bringing Anakin in was already against the Jedi Council's wishes, so he might as well have just saved his slave mother as well. I always thought the Jedi were supposed to be the saviors of the broken, the beaten, and the damned. But that's just my own romantic thinking. Like any organization, the Jedi had their own agendas and purposes, and sometimes that means leaving people's mothers behind trapped in slavery. Now, I understand that Qui-Gon wasn't in the position to gamble for both Anakin and his mother because their ship was all messed up and they didn't have enough credits, and they're also being chased by Darth Maul. But you would imagine eventually, once the whole blockade of Naboo situation was sorted, someone would go back for Anakin's mommies. The fact that Anakin doesn't go back to Tatooine until the Force starts blasting images of his mom being tortured by Tusken Raiders shows us just how obedient Anakin is to the Order. I mean, what would you have done in this situation? I think I would have spent every day in the Jedi Temple trying to figure out a way to bring her back. Shmi Skywalker died because the Jedi failed to see her as a valuable life. They couldn't even do the simple kindness of freeing her. It didn't even mean that Shmi would be in Anakin's life, but at least Anakin wouldn't have to worry about her suffering. Ultimately, a kindly moisture farmer did free Shmi and married her, but a group of Tusken Raiders came and took her and tortured her to death. Shmi's death would cause Anakin to massacre an entire village of Tusken Raiders in retaliation. This would be his first significant step towards the dark side, courtesy of the Jedi Order.
It's interesting because, yeah, the Jedi Order is supposed to be like this group of good guys in theory, but like they're willing to sacrifice the lives of a lot of small, insignificant, quote-unquote, individuals in order to get what they want in the end. They have a lot of flaws, very similar to any other big organization out there. They're looking out for themselves in the end. And also do find it interesting that, like, they want the transition to be easier, and they had Anakin fully, like, in. Like, he worshipped the Jedi. He like wanted to be a part of the council his entire life. He wanted to be like wanted, I guess, to the point where like he didn't even go back and try to save his mother. Um, that really says something, and it basically like I feel like what he said is if they would have like housed her somewhere, it would have made that transition even easier because he would have like the whole kidnapping situation probably would have never happened, as well as he wouldn't have had to worry at all because she would have been safe. So it just would have been in the back of his mind, never to be thought of again, really, until maybe he gets older.
Not only does Qui Gon Jin separate Anakin from his mother, the Jedi Order didn't even initially want to train him. The primary reason why they reject him is because they believe Anakin is too old, as we mentioned before. And Yoda also senses a great deal of fear within the young boy, especially over his mother's future. But considering what the poor boy has just gone through, the lack of compassion and empathy from the Jedi here is startling. If denied entry into the Jedi Order as a recently freed slave with no money or resources, Anakin's situation would have been difficult. Qui-Gon Jinn ends up disobeying the Council and wants to take on Skywalker as an apprentice anyway, and the Council begrudgingly allows the issue to be settled at a later date. Although Qui-Gon Jinn was always considered a renegade within the Jedi Order, Yoda and the elites actually did offer Qui-Gon a seat at the table. They realized that his unorthodox views could have really helped out the Jedi in the long run. And so when Qui-Gon Jinn was penetrated by Darth Maul, the Jedi Council
Interesting word choice.
Wish that Anakin be trained by Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anakin never took his time in the Jedi Order for granted. He applied himself ferociously to his studies and especially enjoyed lightsaber training, but the Jedi Temple was still a place full of adolescents. And from my own experiences as a grown-ass man during the coronavirus era, teenagers are extremely terrifying and travel around in large packs on bicycles, stealing your women and children. And so, even though all the teenagers in the Jedi Temple were technically Jedi in training, or Padawans, they were still stupid teenagers and would tease Anakin because he was quite different from everyone else. Being the chosen one was essentially like being the teacher's pet, and attracted a mixture of jealousy and fear. Anakin was also from the Outer Rim and a former slave, which planted another target on his back. Despite all of this negative attention, Anakin never really holds much of a grudge against his peers. I mean, sure, he has some issues controlling his emotions, but so would anyone judged by the Jedi's lofty standards. In my opinion, Anakin handles himself quite well, considering the circumstances.
Yeah, fair enough.
Even though Anakin arrived to the Jedi Temple a bit later than most, he caught up in his courses and training very quickly. As a Padawan under Obi-Wan Kenobi, he distinguished himself in battles and missions, and eventually...
I feel like not only did he have like a quality teacher and leader in Obi-Wan, but he's just like super strong and a quick learner and really good at almost everything he does. So to be constantly thought of as like a kid or held back, like I can see the frustration,
Eventually was promoted to the role of Jedi Knight and given his own Padawan Ahsoka time out. Like Anakin, Ahsoka had very advanced force powers and combat abilities for her age, and the two together would become one of the deadliest pairings in the Jedi Order. But in the last year of the war, a terrorist bombing was carried out against the Jedi Temple. The culprit was Barriss Offee. She was having a crisis of confidence about her current career choice. Barriss Offee was actually a pretty close friend to Ahsoka Tano, so it's especially messed up when Barriss frames Ahsoka for the bombings. Now, Ahsoka and Anakin had been off fighting in the war when the bombing had happened at Coruscant. The two were actually assigned to the investigation after the incident. Barriss was able to frame Ahsoka by remotely killing a suspect with the force that Ahsoka happened to be interrogating in a secured room. This incident definitely looks really sketchy for the young Jedi. After Barriss murders the suspect,
but like, what's her motive,
guards,
something that can stick.
to the Undercity. Ahsoka is eventually captured and brought forth before the Jedi Council for a trial. Well, it's not a trial like we have here on Earth, where you can either defend yourself or have a lawyer argue your case. What happens to Ahsoka is more akin to a sentencing. She basically is expelled by the Jedi Order, even though they have no proof or motive that Ahsoka would bomb the Jedi Temple. Anakin, of course, believed in his Padawan's innocence the entire time. He knew that Ahsoka would never betray the Jedi. Luckily, he's able to find Barriss Offee and uncovers her role in the bombing before the military tribunal sentences Ahsoka for treason and terrorism. Although Ahsoka is offered a promotion to Jedi Knight and her position back in the Jedi Order, she refuses. The ordeal has shaken her belief in the Jedi to the core, and not even Anakin can convince her to stay. This is a huge blow to Anakin, who fears above all else being alone and abandoned. And
Yep.
this was all because the Jedi were not willing to give one of their own a fair try.
It's unfortunate. I wonder what would have happened if maybe she would have
As
stayed.
the war was reaching its closing
But I don't
point,
blame her for
Jedi
leaving.
and Supreme Chancellor also began butting heads. The Jedi were becoming wary of the Chancellor's growing executive power. The Senate was actually about to approve another round of emergency power so that Chancellor Palpatine can overlook the transition from wartime to peacetime for the Galactic Republic. Since the Jedi technically answered to the Supreme Chancellor, Palpatine thought it would be a great idea to have Anakin serve as a personal representative of the Supreme Chancellor on the High Jedi Council. The Jedi
Palpatine's
Council
IQ is
begrudgingly
over
allowed
200.
Anakin to sit on the council, but
Man's a
are
genius.
increasingly suspicious of Palpatine and even of the young Jedi, who clearly never asked for any of this. Anakin was still very much focused on winning the war. He wasn't really into politics. Although the High Council allows Anakin to join them, they refuse to promote him to the rank of Master, something they decided he wasn't ready for yet. This, of course, angers Anakin. No Jedi who's ever sat on the Council was lower than the rank of Master, but even his own Master and close friend Obi-Wan Kenobi refuses to vouch for him. To make matters worse, Anakin finds out that the Jedi have placed him in the High Council only so that he can spy on Palpatine, something that Anakin wasn't comfortable with doing. Palpatine was a close friend and mentor. The Jedi Order only really works if it can hold a high moral ground. But by the end of the Clone Wars, the Jedi were like any other organization in the Republic. They would lie, deceive, and cheat in order to get what they wanted. Despite being treated poorly by the Jedi for his entire life, Anakin still remained loyal to the Order, and even reports to the Jedi Council that Palpatine is the Sith Lord they were looking for. Despite all the things Anakin managed to accomplish as a Jedi and also as a commander in the GAR, the Jedi never really fully accept Anakin or trust him. And ultimately, when Mace Windu tries to carry out an extrajudicial execution of the rightfully elected leader of the galaxy, Anakin has to step in and do the right thing and stop.
Is it the right thing?
See, Anakin Skywalker has a pretty troubling relationship with the Jedi Order, and although Anakin just...
Like, in terms of having the Clone Wars in there, like in Ahsoka not having a justified trial, I can understand more as to why he would not want Palpatine to be executed and want him to go through with a justified trial, but at the same time, even him being a leader, he's literally the dark side force that has put together all of the issues that is currently going on. The war he's been fighting for so many years, this is the mastermind behind everything, behind the downfall of the Jedi, behind a lot of his issues personally as well. So it's crazy.
He didn't have a lot of options in life, and he really just accepted and was even appreciative of the things the Jedi Order gave him. They could have treated him better, because honestly, they needed him more than he did. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed.
He was an extreme asset, and the fact that they did him like that was just absolutely disrespectful. I think if they would have put him on the council and gave him the rank of Master, I don't know if any of that would have happened in the end. Their lack of faith was what really finally turned him, I think. An organization that he put so much faith into and that he was a part of for most of his life. That's what he built his beliefs off of. Couldn't trust him. And in the end, that's no good. But that was a really good video. I like that. I'll have to check out some more of their stuff. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Like, comment, subscribe. And like always, I'll see you on the next video.